Hi, and welcome to the Flute Talk Podcast, where we talk about all things flute. If you're looking for more tips or lessons from Amelie, please check out musigy.com for all the sheet music, transcriptions, albums, books, and flute lesson packages. That's musigy.com, MUSOGY.com. Also, if you're looking for posters, fingering charts, or merch, you can head over at our merch store at store.theflutechannel.com for all your flute needs. If you want to help us on a monthly basis, you can also consider joining us over at Patreon for as little as $2 a month. This helps us make more great content for you. Check the description for more info. Finally, if you're looking into buying a flute, please consider using the Flute Center of New York and use our code TFC for a 10-day trial in trying 3 flutes. Check the description for all the details. Now on with the show. Hi everybody, welcome to the Flute Talk Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Amelie.
How's it going, Amelie?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. So it's the end of the month as always, and we're going to talk a little bit about when you don't have time to practice and like what type of things you would do to kind of get back into it, or even like say you don't have time at all, but what things you would do.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I guess it all depends. Like, do you have a concert to prepare and you don't have a lot of time, or are you just not having time but you don't have anything planned really? Like, sometimes it's okay to have breaks of the flute, you know, but if you have to learn something, if there's recordings, you can listen to it while you're doing something else. This way you at least learn the melody, you learn, you know, how it sounds and it gets in your brain like that. You can also read your music in bed before you go to bed. I like doing that because then you sleep it off and you're kind of learning it. You know, right. I like reading and doing the fingerings and and then maybe if you have to learn something, you don't have time to practice everything. You don't have to do the whole warm-up routine. You don't have to do 2 hours of scales every day. You can skip those things and go directly to the most urgent stuff, and it's okay. You will still be able to play the flute. Sometimes we make those ideas for ourselves that it's a necessity to do all those things every day, but it's not.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
We program ourselves to think that, and then it kind of becomes true because we believe it so much, but I don't think it's true. I think if you know how to play, you know how to play at one point, and it's good to practice those things, but if you have to skip them, sometimes it's okay as well.
Right. Like even, you know, say like for 2 weeks, you're like, oh, I got to work and do other stuff, like, but I have an hour in between where I have to go every day to learn stuff. Bring your sheet music or listen to the music or listen to music in general and like try to be more, not academic, but like just apply yourself to that can be really helpful as well. Yeah.
And like if you have less time, even if you have more time, it's always more efficient to practice what's needed. Like, let's say you have 4 pages and there's a few spots in there that are more difficult. You don't need to practice the whole thing every time. You can also focus more on those spots, you know? Yeah. So, yeah. And like you said, like you can leave, if it's in a room that doesn't have air going through, you can leave your flute out, and then if you have 15 minutes before dinner, you can practice 15 minutes, you know.
Totally.
Sometimes it's okay too.
Exactly.
You know? I had a student who would bring her flute to work, and at lunchtime she had an hour. She would eat in 30 minutes and practice 30 minutes, and it was a good break in her day. She liked it. Yeah.
Well, I wonder why, like even in the chat, like what do you do when you don't have time to practice but still try to do musical things? You know, let us know in the comments about that. But like, yeah, I really find that, and you shouldn't get discouraged as well. Like I know when people don't have time to practice, it's sort of like a vicious circle. Like every day goes by and they're like, oh, I didn't practice. And it just keeps going and going. But just know that you take those little victories, like you said, like bringing your flute or even taking your music or just listening to the music. Don't you're never actually like disconnected from your music if you're thinking about it and doing it in different ways other than actually using your flute and practicing, you know, like. So yeah, like how would you kind of get out of that like mindset if
well, I think guilt in general, like it's not a very productive
mechanism
feeling
of our body. Yeah, it's not
you know, like sometimes I have students who come to the lesson and they're like, oh, I didn't have time to practice. I'm like, Well, that's in the past. If you feel guilty about it the whole lesson, you're kind of losing that hour that you have now
Yeah.
by feeling guilty. Like, that's energy that you should not lose. You should
Right.
just focus on now. We do our best for the hour that we have. Like, yeah,
And it's
just
totally-
maybe realizing that guilt is not productive, you know.
Right.
And then also sometimes it's totally okay to be a little bit away from music for a while and come back. The brain also appreciates little breaks. So
Yeah, like, and like when you go into a practice lesson with the teacher and stuff, and you're like, oh, I didn't have enough time to practice, you're kind of taking yourself out of that moment now, potentially, to not be in the moment and put your best efforts and all your skills that you've accumulated to practice in front of your teacher and play in front of your teacher, So trying to practice that mindset as well is really helpful. Like being in the moment and not worrying about the past and relying on, your skills and how prepared you are, not for that practice session moment, but for all moments. Because if you're practicing whenever and you're developing your skills, you kind of want to be always in that mindset. So trying to get that voice out of your head, that guilt thing, because it overwhelms that one. Because in reality, you're in that position in front of your teacher or in front of whoever you're doing because you have put in a certain amount of time. Maybe it wasn't necessarily the amount of time you needed, but right now, just be in the moment. Try to, work on elements that you've had problems with before, even if it's the same things that you did in the previous lesson with that teacher. Like it's okay. Like it's about working through those things and figuring out that, oh, maybe this is something I really have to work on all the time instead of all the other stuff, because all the other things I do very well, and my teacher or whoever doesn't pay attention to those things because they're maybe.
And maybe it's also about being realistic in your goals, because if you're very busy and you think you're going to be able, you want to practice 2 hours a day, but it's impossible, maybe you have to realize it's impossible and you're making yourself sad for, like, you're putting a goal that's not attainable and then you feel sad or guilty about it. It's like, and making the best out of the time that you have.
Exactly. And like scheduling yourself for practicing, like maybe you fell out of your routine. Maybe make a new routine, like start fresh, like say, oh, I'm going to wake up early and do 15 minutes. Start with that. Start with a new, fresh outlook on your practice. Maybe that's what it needs in a way, because we all tend to get in a loop of like practice, but then everything is kind of sequential. So you want to kind of break that sequence and start again fresh and new.
Some people like to make
well.
a schedule, or like sometimes with students, I've done that, especially with kids. Oh, I don't have time. Okay, let's look at your schedule. On Monday, you have swimming lessons, but on Tuesday, okay, we'll put it Tuesday for 40 minutes on that at that time. And then, because it doesn't even need to be every day the same thing, or not maybe even every day if there's days that, I don't know, you have kids and you have to drive them around to all their activities on that evening. Maybe you can practice, but then maybe just choose time that is for you and your flute.
And also, like, another aspect on top of that is, say you don't meet those goals, or say you missed a day, don't be too hard on yourself. Just focus on what's being in the moment, and also focusing on what the next day is going to bring. Look at your schedule for the next day. Say you missed your practice session that you wanted to do. Say, okay, I missed this. What do I have to do tomorrow? So you can put yourself in that mindset.
Sometimes it happens. You have to stay, like you make that, but then you have to stay flexible.
Yeah,
because life
flexible,
is not completely
exactly, and work through it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about working through those types of things like that. But yeah, let us know. We're going to jump back to that topic in a little bit. But I've seen some questions in the comments here. Louis Bertrand Tech wants to know, I borrowed an alto flute. I noticed Amelie playing alto in the flute duet with Jasmine Choi. Did you play alto flute?
No.
No? So it was a regular flute, I guess.
Yeah, it was a C flute.
So you made it sound pretty good then for that. But like alto flute,
I was playing the low part, but with a normal
flute. Yeah. I think we didn't bring. Did you bring your flute to then, or was it?
I think I had my flute. She took a flute there.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So it must have been that. But yeah, how do you for instance, though, for alto flute, like how would you like work on tone in that way to kind of get a good alto flute tone? Is there anything different in your practicing than you would with your C flute, or would you be listening differently, or are you looking for different things?
Well, I would do long tones and octaves and all types of exercises that I usually do on my flute because it's a bit different. And the other thing that I noticed is because my alto flute is curved, usually on some notes I give a slight angle when I blow on the right to go towards the end of my flute. Like it's
Right.
very tiny, you can't see it, but maybe it's just visualization. I don't know if I really do it or I just think about doing it. You know, sometimes when we do things, it's not
Right.
very
Yeah.
clear.
Mm-hmm.
But when I play alto flute, because it's curved, I have to do it on the other side. I've noticed.
Okay. Yeah.
I kind of think of things in the other direction.
Mm-hmm,
But if you have a non-curved alto, then I guess you don't have to think about that. But then the rest is like, it's the opposite of piccolo. It's bigger, so you have to have a bigger aperture, slower air, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Totally.
And the support is a bit different. You have to also fill out the whole flute. Like if you're playing in the low notes, then the reaction time might be a bit slow, so you have to anticipate it a little bit more. Then it's on a piccolo that reacts super fast.
Exactly. Even like with piccolo
That's why
playing,
it's good to do sound exercises, listen to yourself, even do scales, do all types of different things
Right.
that you usually do on your flute so that you get comfortable with it, like octaves
Right.
and all those things.
Because they have different, like you said, different breathing, different everything, and also it's a different sound in itself, a different tonal
Yeah.
range, and so trying to customize
and check
yourself
on
with
the
that.
tuner,
Always,
you know,
yeah.
because it's a bit different again. Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuner, I've been, like this week, I've been looking at my tuner more than usual, and I've noticed more like, I'm tending to be more sharp now in certain things. So I'm like, I got to bring it back down. I got to figure that out and put those things so I can just get mental checks about that. Because in this time frame, you're only playing with yourself, or luckily you're playing with another person sometimes. But like, you got to really use that tuner. And
Sometimes
figure
I
that
even
out.
put the drone on my tuner, like
Yeah,
the little
drones help.
eh,
If you
and then
can, yeah.
I play a scale and I put every.
Yeah.
Let's say I was recording studies for our next book, and I was like, okay, this one is in B flat, so I would put my drone on B
Yeah.
flat, play the scale. Okay, now I play. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so helpful. It
Yeah.
totally is. Diane was saying like she.
Oh, thanks, Kent.
Yeah, thanks Ken so much for that.
For-
It helps us out so much.
So
Um,
Kent gave us on
on the super chat,
super
$20.
chat.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can always do that if you want to join us live on the show. If you're listening to this in the future on a podcast, come and join us on the last Sunday of every month, and that can help us out as well. But thank you so much. I saw here Diana was saying I also try to work on my breathing and double and triple tonguing while doing housework. That helps me. Yeah, like
Oh,
you can
yeah.
incorporate core skills like that without the flute while
Yeah.
you're doing stuff. I remember I used to practice double tonguing for my bus and stuff like that all the time,
Yeah.
and people were like looking at me, but I was just doing that.
Yeah, you do the dishes and you go taka taka taka.
Yeah, or da-ga-da-ga-da-ga-da. Yeah.
Or you do it backwards too.
Yeah.
Kata, 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 kata,
Yeah.
kata, kata, and then yeah, and triple tonguing. You can also do a lot of breathing stuff. I would
Yeah.
hold my breath because like holding your breath can be very helpful. I feel because like sometimes when we play, we think we don't have any more air, but it's not that. It's we want fresh air. So like, sorry, taking a big breath and holding it in, or doing all types of
Right.
breathing exercises, taking a big breath and then blowing very slowly. You can do that while doing other stuff, or you can do breathing exercises before you go to bed. It helps to sleep better, and it helps the flute playing as well.
Totally, yeah. Like, excuse me. Sorry. But yeah, drone work really, like you were saying before, even Louis was saying here in the chat, drone can really help, yeah. And I think there's even apps now that can play drone, so you don't need necessarily
A good tuner,
a good
like,
tuner or
yeah.
whatever. But I remember
There's a
I used
lot of
to,
apps.
Yeah, there's a lot of apps. I remember I think I still have it. It's a whole CD of drones, and it was really just long. It just holds it forever. But they're particular for certain things, like they're special. I don't know.
I have
why.
it on my tuner, but
Yeah.
I bought my tuner before smartphones.
Yeah, before
existed.
smartphone existed, exactly. But there's a lot of stuff like that, so that's pretty interesting. What else I was going to ask about with practicing? Even like your fingering, like you can practice fingering, tapping on your knee, tapping on your, like or on a pencil. If you don't have your flute around you, practice the just basic mechanics of of notes. It's not going to be obviously the same, resistance, but it does keep things going in different directions in your brain.
Well,
and
I
wiring
do that
different
all the
connections.
time
Oh, I
without
know.
even noticing.
Yeah.
I just, if I practiced something during the day, my fingers will just go by on their own, and then I'm talking with someone. And when I was younger, my mom would very often be like, "What are you playing?" And like a lot of people ask me, like people who don't know, maybe I look weird, but people who know me, they know that I'm playing something. And sometimes I don't notice. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing that."
Oh yeah, totally.
Because we have a memory, like what we call muscle memory, or
Right.
like the fingers have their own memory
Yeah.
as well.
Your brain has certain patterns that are just
Yeah,
embedded
you're
in there.
learning the pattern.
Your brain has a whole filing cabinet of all the patterns, and you just pop them in when they happen like that.
Yeah.
And
And I remember like listening to pieces a lot and like putting it on and having different versions and all that stuff. It's it's helpful. Or recording your thing and listening while you can even listen while you're doing something else, and you'll hear, what are the strengths and the weaknesses,
Right.
and you're playing on what you have to practice next time.
right. Felicia wants to know, what is droning? Well, it's just drone, or droning, whatever you want to call it. But
Oh,
it's
can
a, it's
you
a
give me my...
yeah, it's a tone that it's one tone that's being played long, and then you play against it.
So like, let's say that's
Yeah,
a C.
that's a C. So
So you would just have your C being played like that, and then you can take your flute
yeah, and then play other notes.
and play other notes and try to make them sound in tune with that note.
Yeah.
Because like when
or play
you
against them too. Like you play a scale against them. That's what I used to do. Play like C major. Yeah.
That's pretty much what I was saying, I thought.
Oh yeah, you were. Yeah, totally. Just
Okay.
yeah, so if you want to hear, and then you hear the different tones. You want to give an example?
Yeah, maybe, but you don't necessarily always hear a different tone with that.
No, not necessarily.
But like, let's say you put because like what I was gonna say
sorry, go ahead.
is that when you play in tune with your tuner, let's say you're just playing so that the arrow stays in the middle. It's not really in tune because it's not relative to anything. But if you play with a drone, for example, your major third will be too high. You'll have to
exactly.
lower it.
Uh-huh.
And your minor third will be too low, and your fifth will be probably too high. Like you have to adjust to the other notes that are around. So that's what the drone has that the little arrow doesn't have, because now you're training your ear. But the arrow is still good because it gives you an approximation. It still shows you that if you're way too high on a note or way too low on a note, it's still helpful. But the drone is another thing. So maybe I'll go back because
It's okay.
now we heard the... Did you hear the...
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
When you play high, you can hear a low note if you're in tune that comes out.
And it's totally okay. Like if you don't hear it right away, like it's a developing thing, and also.
No, I'm not always perfect.
Yeah,
on it.
exactly.
It's like,
and you want to find
we do our best.
Yeah. And you want to find a drone. You want to find a drone app that can also change the frequency as well. Just say, because you were just tuning at a drone at 441.
But I can change it.
I know this one you can, is what I'm saying. But I mean, for an app, like an app to have it.
that you could play it on 442, 440,
Yeah,
441.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's drones, and there's a lot of different applications for that, and I'm sure there's a lot of videos about that everywhere about drones and how to play with drones and stuff like that. So hopefully that helps, Felicia. It's a new it's some for a lot of people. It's new. It's a new thing, and it does do a lot of cool things. The Matt wants to know, does the dog like the flute? Sort of. Sometimes
She's not a big
she's
fan,
indifferent.
But today she's sick and she wants to cuddle. Like she needs reassurance because
Exactly.
she has an eye infection. She's not feeling so good.
No, not 100% for
She
sure.
needs love, a lot of love to get better.
Yeah.
And eye drops.
Midnight Jojo wants to know, my cousin just got her flute. What is the first thing a beginner should focus on?
getting a sound out and learning your fingerings.
Yeah, we have 1 or 2 good
I
videos
guess
about that. The
that
beginner
would be
videos
like, we have our book that's pretty good for
Yeah.
beginners.
as well.
You can go check out on music.com, and I think you can check if you like it. The first lesson is on YouTube. So before you buy it, you can go and check if you like the way I teach. But like, it's really the way I would teach a beginner. Like, it's pretty incremental.
Exactly.
And this way you learn all your fingerings, and there's videos with it
yeah,
to
exactly.
accompany, and all the recordings that you can listen to. So, yeah. But like, I guess, yeah, making a sound with only your head joint, and then putting the head joint in, making a sound, and then learning a couple of fingerings so that you can play a couple of tunes would
Right.
be the first things
Exactly,
to
yeah.
do.
And like, learn your like, go online and look for your favorite songs that you always listen to. You always want to start with like some tunes that you always
Yeah,
know
you can
already.
go on flute tunes. There's a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
some of it is grouped by easy, middle, like.
Right. For more classical stuff, but I mean, like,
Oh,
if you
they
want to
even
find
have tunes. They
Yeah,
have
they have
like
tunes.
little
modern stuff, because I mean, like,
no,
that's what I'm
more-
saying.
More
Yeah.
like little folk tunes and stuff, because it's
Yeah.
all in the public domain what they
Right.
have.
Yeah, so but you can go on YouTube and find flutist or other instrumentalists playing pop songs or VGM songs or any of those things on there, and follow the ones that you like first. Then start going back and looking at some of the classics and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
The
etude books
advantage
too.
with the book is that if you don't know how to read music, I teach you how to read music as
Yep,
well. Like,
exactly.
it's all in one.
Right.
You
If
don't
come
need
from a-
one for theory, and like, it's all
Exactly.
like, all you need to start is in that, and then after that you can
Exactly. Like, if you're coming from a background you have no background in music whatsoever, besides even the flute, this is definitely the way to kind of go to first, to kind of be led into the right direction.
And if you do, you just skip the parts that are about sight reading.
Right. Exactly.
And it's still
you
still
skip 1 or 2
helpful.
pages, and then you go to the rest
Yeah,
of the
other-
lessons.
you skip the parts that you don't need,
Exactly. Yeah. So are there any little final things that you would think about for, when you don't have time to practice? Like, are there things popping up in your head that...
No, like
no?
listening to things, and also sometimes listening to other instruments playing, like some repertoire is played on other instruments, or just listening to other stuff. But let's say you have to learn something, listening to it, practicing articulation, practicing breathing, reading your music when you're out. Like, I had a student, I would record her study, let's say, with a metronome, and she would listen to it in the metro while she was going to work, and she learned her studies
Oh, wow.
like that. There's a lot of ways to make make it.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of beginners that this last month and this month, and I'm sure for the next 2-3 months, there's going to be a lot of new beginners coming in, learning, wanting to learn the flute,
And like, let's say you have your study like that recorded by your teacher, or you found and you bring your book in the metro or in the bus, or
yeah, exactly.
and then you can listen to it and read it at the same time. You can even start doing the fingerings a little bit, and then you're in business.
Yeah.
You're still learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. And then just to kind of roll back on a couple things that we mentioned at the beginning of the intro, we have, like you said, the book is out on musigy.com, musogY.com, where you have the book and also transcription. We're going to be putting albums as well, and also the future book that's
The
going to be
second book
the second book that's
we're-
going to come out later this next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks will turn into days, and then it'll be coming out. So that's it. And then we also have, if you want to have lessons with Amelie as well, you can email us at info@theflutechannel.com, and you can join our waiting list for that and see if there's anything available in the schedule for online lessons with Amelie. You have a full online studio right now, which is really cool. Like, some people are in the chat that are also in part of that studio, which is amazing too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that. And then also, what else? We have also Patreon as well. If you want to help us on a monthly basis but don't want to have lessons, or whatever your financial situation is, if you have the ability to do that, you can go to patreon.com/theflutechannel, and there you can donate as little as $2 a month, or as much as you want, and that helps us out directly as well to help produce more videos. We have more videos lined up this month in November. And then what else do we have? We have the book, also our merch store. You can go and join us on our merch store. We're wearing our merch, some of our merch here. We're going to add some new stuff soon before the holidays. There might be some logistics with shipping and stuff, so you want to order early if you want to have it before Christmas for your flute or musician family member or friend that you want to buy a shirt and stuff like that for that. What else do we have here? So yeah, if you have any more questions, just let us know in some comment. We'll have another, I think, 5 or 10 more minutes in the podcast, and then we will call it a day. But we do this at the last Sunday of every month. So if you want to join us on the last Sunday of every month, we do this live over on YouTube. And Misty's enjoying her. You don't see it on the podcast, but she's getting her love.
She's getting a full massage, head massage.
But like, I had a question about like when I know like sometimes when I don't even have access to anything, I don't even have my phone with me or anything. I'm just kind of going for a walk and doing whatever. Or like, do you advise like even singing your parts out loud and stuff like that? Because like
I used to do that.
I used to do that too, quite a bit. I used
Yeah.
to do it like even in the shower and stuff. Like I used to sing the parts. Like
I remember
it just came out.
when I was a teenager. At one point, my mom was like, "Okay, you practice enough. Come and do cross country skiing with me today.
Right.
Like that's enough." And I was just singing my concerto that I had to learn
Totally.
with all the notes, like
Sure.
G D D D.
Mhm.
I was
Right,
like
right.
singing the whole thing while
it's
doing
crazy.
cross country ski. But like in that case, you have to kind of know it by heart already.
Right.
But yeah, but sometimes it's good also. I realized with time, it's cool to be obsessive in some ways. That's how you get good. But with time, you can get away from it. Sometimes it's also good to
Right.
just take a walk.
Yeah. That's sort of like what it was kind of gonna come down to as well. Is like we also have to kind of realize the importance of like our bodies telling us take a break from that, go and do other things with your life. Like versatile, your brain wants versatility. It doesn't want a mono, one track thing. Fine. It's actually degenerative in a way because it's not very good.
It's kind of okay. Like I think a lot of people
yeah.
become obsessive when they love
to be
something,
obsessive, yeah.
and they want to be very good at it.
Totally.
And it's okay, but there's
You
phases,
see
and
that,
then
the little
most
part.
people like get away from it at one point, and they're like,
Yeah.
you get to your goals, and then you can be a bit less obsessive.
Yeah, you have to know how to take breaks and also enjoy the other aspects of culture and life that
Exactly.
that pretty much contributes to music and vice versa. So like we have to know those types of things, like also just getting sunlight and getting our
Exactly.
basics, which should be on top, the basics that you need in your life,
Yeah,
and
because
sleep
if you
and
don't
stuff
have
like that. Yeah,
health, you can't play the flute.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
if you practice so much that you hurt your body, and then you can't even hold your flute,
Exactly.
or if like there's people
Yeah.
who, some instrumentalists, they practice so much and they have pain, and they continue to practice, and they continue even with the pain. And at
Right.
one point, the brain stops the signal,
Yeah,
and then they lose control of their fingers.
exactly.
Their body doesn't respond
Yeah.
anymore because the brain, when it has too much pain, it cuts the signal. So
Yeah,
balance.
Yeah, but
And if you have pain,
Yeah.
it's not a normal
Yeah.
thing that you should be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's okay, I have to be tough about it.
Right,
No,
right.
you have to take care of it.
Yeah,
And
you got to take care of that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not a matter of like, I'm not trying to say being obsessive over music is a faux pas or anything like that. It's just, you have to know when to kind of just like take a breather and just relax. Your brain needs relaxation. Hunters,
like
they don't
in,
they don't hunt 24 hours a day.
it's like in I really like that movie. What is it? The Karate Kid.
Okay.
You
Karate
know,
Kid, sure.
When Mr. Miyagi's like, I don't know if it's in the first one or in the one with Jackie Chan. I think it's in the one with Jackie Chan. He's like, oh.
You mean the Jackie Chan Miyagi?
Yeah, when
Okay, not
when
the-
they're
so it's
in
the
when
new
they're in
one,
Hong
yeah.
Kong or something.
Yeah, the new version.
Yeah, the new one. And then the kid, he goes on Sunday and he's like, we do karate today. He's like, no, like too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Today you rest, you know?
Yeah.
And even my
Totally.
teacher in university, she was like, practice 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. And the 7th day, you don't do flute. You just go and do other stuff, you know?
Right.
I think it's okay to have some type of balance, but it's all about
Yeah.
how you feel too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, if you have the ability to practice that many hours and still function and be a proper citizen in society and your friends and stuff, then that's great. But
Oh, but
I've
like
met a
when I
lot of
was in
people-
university, it was almost my full-time job to practice. You know, like
yeah.
I don't have that much time now
Yeah.
to do 3 hours a day. But when I was younger, was like my job basically.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah, sort of. It was just
When you're a student and you have like a
it's your
couple of
studies.
courses
Yeah, it's your
and
studies. Yeah,
you practice 3 hours, it's like a med student will learn anatomy and stuff like that. Like
It's basically
I was practicing my
non-paid.
flute.
It's basically a non-paid internship. It's music. It's not a job.
Well, music is, I guess. But like, if you're a student, you're not supposed to be in that mindset.
You're in a
yet.
study mode. You're in a study mindset.
study
Exactly. But that's pretty much it. Like, there's not many other questions in the comments, which is maybe everybody's getting their Halloween on because today's a spooky day, which is always cool. We didn't have any spooky.
We didn't dress up.
No, we don't need to. Wow.
And we didn't dress Misty up because she doesn't like.
No, and plus I don't want to put anything on her head right now with her little eye infection. Poor little baby.
Yeah, she's never impressed when we put stuff on her.
No, exactly. So so I guess that will be the end of the podcast today. I hope talking about not having time to practice in a society that everybody's trying to push everybody to their limits. This sort of kind of puts a little bit more perspective in that mindset, because we see so many people, last like not even 15 years ago, we didn't have access to social media at this type of level that we saw everybody always playing, always practicing. We didn't have, music videos at our fingertips and seeing how everybody's practicing all the time. But in reality, everybody else is in almost the same situation as you, so be at your own pace, practice. If you can't practice for a couple of days, don't be too hard on yourself,
And sleep well.
Get back. And sleep well. Sleep. I don't think we talked enough about sleep, but it's always a topic.
If you want to learn, you need to sleep.
Exactly.
Because the brain needs it.
Yeah, the brain needs it tremendously. So, Violona wants to know, have you played Irish music? Yeah, we both play Irish music.
You play more than me.
I play more than you, but
and you have your.
We have all the whistles and stuff.
You have a whistle.
We have several whistles. Yeah,
it's so cute. I love it when you play it.
Right, we're gonna have some episodes about that, about how to learn that, and also all the other flutes in the background too. We're gonna try to do a topic on each one, so that's gonna be really cool, and that'll be coming up soon as well. And which app? Whoa, wait, we have a couple of questions here. Let's try to take care of these first. Can you talk a little bit more about the use of a tablet? Which app do you use to organize them? So I guess it means organize music or organize your day, like a calendar. Let us know in the comments. I think that's Marie France, who was also at the festival a couple years ago.
Oh,
yeah, which is always cool. It's always cool to see her there.
Well, a bit more about the use of a tablet.
Yeah, well, we have a phone or tablet. Yeah.
Well,
tablet and phone, you couldn't read sheet music off of that, so I don't know if that's.
I guess it's probably like that app that we use.
Like Tomplay and stuff, using it on a big tablet and stuff like that.
Yeah, Tomplay works well on a tablet.
Or a convertible.
Or a computer.
Yeah, like a convertible computer, like those 2-in-1s that can flip into a tablet.
Yeah.
Those are always cool too, because they're very big and you can really.
But sometimes I do it on my computer.
Yeah, you can use it on your computer as well.
I just put my chair in front of the compuher and I use Tomplay directly like that.
You can totally do that.
When I practice. And
organize your music sheets. Okay.
Oh, I'm still a lot in paper.
Yeah, you're a lot on paper. You're really just paper. But like I digitized a decade ago on everything. So I would organize all the music in different folders on
you made like per period or
nope, just alphabetical. So it was at a time when I was really that was what I was doing. So I just put those in alphabetical, and then I would back them up either through a drive service online or just also I still have some on hard drives, and also I have a complete one on CD or on DVD burned and stuff like that of different sheet music.
But now I guess you could use you can
use cloud services and keep them on the cloud, like on Google Drive 1 you can do that as well. But and I used a scanner that was a big flatbed scanner that you could open up. It had a door and you close it and you scan, and that's how I would do it. And I would use Adobe software to kind of crop and paste all those types of things. You have to now, it's a bit too sad, but you have to have a subscription service for Adobe to use those types of services.
Okay.
But that's, and then when you use it on a tablet, like we have an iPad, but we really just use our computer for that. And when we need to have music, we print it out, put it in a folder. But like for Tomplay, we just put it on the
I
screen.
have a computer tablet type of thing that does both, and I use that or my computer. Yeah.
And there's a lot of other services besides Tomplay as well that offer full access to, I know like Smart Score is one that has not a lot of like traditional like flute music, like the French composer book and stuff like that, but has all types of other music as well, and that's all digital as well. So you have complete access to that. So
Is that a subscription? Some
that's
of them are
subscription, yeah, they're all-
subscriptions.
yeah, most are subscriptions.
So you
some
don't
are
own
free.
it.
No, and if that service ever goes
So-
out of business or moves, and you don't have access to log in, then they're all gone. So
Or if you stop paying for it, then you don't have access to
Yeah.
your music anymore.
you know, I would advise
I
know
like buying my music and having it.
yeah, buying music's great and stuff, and also digitizing after you buy it, so you can have a copy in case of a fire or whatever, or something like
that's
that.
smart.
But you know, scan the music if you really want to have a digital ecosystem. You know, I would spend like an hour a week scanning stuff. That way, after a year, you have 56 hours worth of scanning stuff, or 52 hours of scanning stuff, and then organizing it like that. And then I know there's a couple apps like PDF viewers that you can use with your tablets that you can change the page with a Bluetooth foot pedal and stuff like that. And those are really cool and helpful when you don't want to carry so much stuff to a gig and stuff like that. Hopefully that helps the question a little bit. If not, email us, and then we'll email us at info@theflutechannel.com, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit further and see how we can help you with that. Maury wants to know here, I'm coming back to my flute after 10 years. Great that we have some questions, by the way. It feels good having the music come back to me, but all the muscles from my embouchure ache. Why? Embouchure
yeah.
ache. Yeah, that
It's
happens.
normal.
It's a completely normal thing.
It's normal. Just practice in little increments. Like when it hurts, come back to it a little bit later. It's just like lactic acid.
Yep, totally.
Because your muscles, they're not used to work. And if it's just a little, like if it's like you're exercising.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that.
Yeah.
And if it hurts too much, maybe it's because you push too hard on your jaw.
Oh, yeah. That
It
can
shouldn't
happen.
hurt too much. Like if it's just like, let's say if I don't practice for a while and then I go and play something full of double tonguing
Sure.
and my tongue kind of lost its, then it will hurt, but it's like a muscle aching from exercising.
Uh-huh.
It's not scary. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm going to have issues. But if it's your jaw because you push too hard and stuff like that, just make sure that your flute is stable, that it can't just be pushed away too easily, but
Yeah.
it's not pushing so hard that it's hurting your jaw.
Right. And you just have to watch out whether or not that point where you were just pointing under the lips is radiating, or is it a sharp pain and it's isolated in one spot. If it's isolated in one spot, it's because of pressure of the metal being put against that part of the skin. But if it's radiating around the lips, or like you said, to the jaw, it could be multiple things beyond that. It could be also your posture. It could also be overworking, like you said, of the
maybe
practice.
it's also maybe you're putting too much tension in your embouchure, because like it should be stable but not tensed.
Exactly.
So just
Yeah.
practice regularly and see if it goes away. If it goes away, it was just the muscles.
Yeah. And just have plenty of rest as well. We'll do 2 more questions here. This is amazing. Thanks. Memma, the cutest flutist, wants to know, how many scales should I know before I consider myself to be advanced? Try to learn them all.
All the major and minor scales.
Yeah, harmonic, melodic, minor. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And you should know your
Harmonic.
thirds. You should know your thirds. You should know your...
Advanced, you would know.
arpeggios.
You would know your scales, arpeggios, scales in thirds, major and minor.
Yeah, that's when you're considered advanced. If advanced is, top. So like if you want to put that, because there's like beginner, intermediate, advanced. That's really kind of the
Because
terminology
like let's say
everybody
at
uses.
the end of the intermediate book, I put scales and arpeggios, 2 octaves, up to 4 sharps and 4 flats.
Yeah. So you're
major and harmonic minor.
Yeah.
And that I consider intermediate.
Yeah, you're at the bridge to go up to advance. You're about to
That's
get
like
to
when
it.
you know all of that, now you're an intermediate player.
Yeah, exactly. And you can pretty much go through about, let's say 75% of most
And
stuff
then
that
you-
being put in front of you.
After that, once you learn all the other stuff and you can go faster and all that, then you're considered advanced.
Advanced, exactly.
It takes time to be an advanced
Oh, yeah,
player.
totally.
Like I have a lot of students who think, oh, but I'm not this good and I've played for 3 years. And I'm like, or like my sound is good, but some days it's not good and I've played for 3 years. Well, it takes 15 years to become a good flutist?
Okay.
I don't know, like 10, 15 years. I don't know. It takes a lot of time.
I know. I'm not the one to say about there's supposed to be a certain amount of time, because I knew people who learned in a year as good as a person who practiced 15 years. So it's
Okay,
really
yeah.
hard to say.
No,
And
but what I mean is, okay, I learned fast because I was in a program where we played every day. So like
you're
just-
surrounded by music.
I was in music nonstop, and
Yeah.
so I learned fast. But still, to say that I could take my flute and know it's gonna sound good every day, it took me time. Even though I was advanced pretty quickly, I think it takes some time to really feel like the instrument is kind of part of you. Takes years. You have to be patient. That's all I'm saying, you know?
Exactly.
time.
Yeah, it takes time.
Because
you know.
even if you do learn very fast, to have that feeling, to know exactly what's the feeling of everything to make it sound the way you want, you can't achieve that in a year. I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen people do that, like they go from beginner to a pretty good and intermediate level very fast because they surrounded themselves with music, had a good teacher.
I
all those things.
understand that, but to really feel like it's every day, if you take your instrument, it's going to sound good because you know exactly what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Takes more than that, because when you learn fast like that, you're relying a lot of intuition.
Yeah.
But then to really become good, you kind of have to have periods, I feel, that you have to have a couple of setbacks where you kind of have to go back.
Totally.
And then with that setback, you learn something and you get stronger and stronger. And that takes time.
Yeah. It's hard to say. Like
it's normal to have setbacks. It's normal to have a period where you lose your sound and then you have to get it back. There's all those little things in really mastering an instrument.
Right.
Yeah. To become it
takes time.
Yeah.
And like it's usually when you're it's usually not like I said, it's not a time thing. It's usually when your peers are acceptant of you and the people that you find that are at a professional level are working with you or playing with you, or you're at the same level with your, at a particular level with your colleagues, as well. That's another metric. There's so many different ways. But to say, it's that 10,000 rule thing. You can say 15 years or 10,000 hour rule. Those are the same types of metrics I wouldn't want to
No, I'm not saying.
much.
I'm just saying it takes time.
Yeah, it does. Totally.
Like 10,000 hours, it sounds a bit arbitrary.
It's
so
completely
it's like
arbitrary.
10 to 15 years. It's just. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, don't think like 3 years and I should be. No, like 3
Oh no,
years is
never
not a
think
lot.
that. No, don't think in
That's
terms
all
of
I'm
years.
saying,
It's just just think about, like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, be in the moment at
and
that time.
there's so much to learn in music, because there's not just the instrument, there's all the rhythm
and all the different styles that we never have talked about or gone into. Like, there's so many different places that
and all
teach
the
differently.
theory and understanding, like phrasing connected with rhythm, phrasing connected with harmony, being able to see that there's a cadence here and
connected with
where's
breathing and all that stuff.
and where's the tension and where's the release and all those things. It's full of stuff. So before you're really a master of all that, it takes a lot of time.
Exactly.
You can't do that in a year. I don't believe in that at all.
How do I learn? Richie wants to know, how do I learn to breathe more while playing the flute?
We have a couple of videos about breathing.
Yeah.
You should watch
That's
them.
from Itchy Thing. Itchy Thing wants to know that.
And, try to use all your, like, as much space in your body as you can.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, use the rib cage, expand your rib cage, because the belly breathing, it's good, but personally, for me, it's not enough. I never had enough air when I was doing that. And then do exercises, breathing exercises. When we were talking about practicing without when you don't have time, that's the type of thing you can practice all the time. You can take a breath in and keep it for 20 to 30 seconds and release it. That's a thing you can do. You can take a big breath in and then release it very slowly.
Yeah.
You can practice the square breathing, which is you breathe in 4, you hold 4, you breathe out 4, you hold 4. And then what I used to do in my bed before I go to bed, sometimes I still do it, is increase it. So let's say I did 4 and then I did 5, and at some point I was able to get to 10. So I would breathe in, count 10, hold it for 10, breathe out 10, hold it for 10. This way you kind of get a bigger and bigger lung capacity. And then also maybe you're losing a lot of air when you play. So like learning to focus the air on the embouchure plate is a good thing as well. So you can do a couple of breathing exercises with your flute while you play a note, let's
Exactly.
say, and you hold it as long as you can and stuff like that. But there's a couple of exercises
like
on
Hawaii
our videos.
as well. Like using Hawaii helps too, and also like make an exercise out of it. Like you were saying, in 4, out 4, but then increase it by 1. So maybe in 5, out 5, and in 6, out 6. So they can develop more breathing.
Well, usually I don't practice it like that.
No, okay.
No. If I do it with my flute, I always take 2 seconds to breathe in, but I increase the breathing out. But I always breathe in with the same amount of time, because when you play music, you don't have 5 seconds to take a breath most of the time.
Right.
So I kind of take it always the same.
Yeah. But to develop endurance, that wouldn't be something to be applied to music playing. Just to develop endurance, how would you add more?
Well, in the
breathing?
square breathing, I do it like that.
Square breathing, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
but that's not with your flute. With your flute,
without-
it's irrelevant to take 5 seconds to breathe.
No,
'cause you'll
not with your
never do it
flute.
with
Yeah,
your
not
flute.
with your flute. No.
Yeah. Oh, but I already talked about the square breathing. Cool. For people who don't know what Hawaii is, it's like it's a way to remember to use all 3 breathing stages in your body. So Ha is the belly, Wa is the rib cage, and E is the chest. So it goes, and then you're filled up.
Yeah, exactly. And just getting comfortable with that type of sensation, because you want to hulk up when you have long phrases, and you want to have the air available to you, even if you don't need it. Like there's always going to be a waste of air. So you want to have wastes of air in a way, like say you finish a phrase and you
also
wanna be a
make
little
sure
more-
you don't lose air through your nose, because sometimes
Oh,
when
yeah.
people are not used to take a lot
so
of
true.
air, they're not comfortable with all that air, and some of it goes through the nose and they don't notice. So just be careful, just be aware, and try to see if you're losing air through your nose.
And Morgan was saying there about the aching of the lips. He said it feels more like a workout ache.
Yeah. So it's just because your muscles are getting used to working again, because it's not the same muscles that you use for talking and stuff. Like there's a lot of little muscles there. Yeah.
Oh, Victor wants to know, does your local area have planned live concerts and audience attendance now? Yep. A lot of our places now have audience, like the Chamber Music Festival starting next month, and OSM and
Yeah, it's
everybody
starting
else.
again.
Hockey, sports, all those
People
things.
have to keep their masks during the concert.
Yeah, and you need a passport. You need a vaccination
Yeah.
passport and all that stuff. But yeah, everybody's doing their stuff now. It's getting much better now, which is really great. Things are kind of like tugging along, so that's always amazing. We'll do one last question. Final question here for the week. And if you have another question, leave it down in the comments for us after the video. And we'll try to get to them at the end of the show next time as well. We'll try to make a little pool of questions for that as well. But Matilda wants to know, who are your favorite flute players and why? Who inspires you the most? We haven't answered that question in a long time. That's always a good question. I don't have other flutists necessarily, but I have other musicians, like other, like bands and instrumentalists. Like I like listening to Yo-Yo Ma. I like listening to some jazz stuff as well, like to understand like how to understand groove and tone and stuff like that for me at least. I like Galway a lot.
Yeah.
For particular things, and also just inspiring for people just like him who recorded so much and just being able to record stuff. That's always
He's
cool.
inspiring. There's a lot of great flutists, like Payud is very good. Like there's a lot of very good musicians out there, and like you said, we're very impressed sometimes when we listen to some jazz players or when we listen to But I kind of I like a lot of different flutists. Like I like Galois as well.
That was all right.
He has his own way of seeing things, and I like the old flutists a lot. Like I like listening to Marion.
Yeah.
Alain Marion.
Yeah, Marion's one of my favorite of all.
He had some like his phrasing and how he like it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The Boast too.
Yeah,
I
those
like
guys I
listening
like
to
the most,
him.
yeah.
And lately I've listened to some my God, what's going on with my brain? He edited so much stuff. He's like the Rampal. Jean-Pierre Rampal. Like, we forget about them, but like it's amazing how he was so natural and so intuitive in his playing.
Yeah.
And like, let's say the fantasies, the Tillman fantasies.
Okay.
You wouldn't think about him because now we're all about Baroque flutes and we're all about like there's this Baroque way of playing, but his phrasing, it's so interesting. Like his articulation, it's beautiful how like, yeah, so there's a lot of like I always find something good in people that I listen to usually.
Yeah, that's where we differentiate a little bit, because like for me it's like I don't like a lot of the new flute players at all, because it's just a lot of tone and a lot of different things that just doesn't make it musical enough.
Yeah, I had a teacher who was saying he didn't like he studied with Larieux and all those guys.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he was like, this new school of the flute that you always have to play with a bigger tone and more depth. And he's like, if you want to play the trombone, but a flute is supposed to play like sound like a flute. And so he didn't like, a bit like you're saying, that new idea of that super intense sound all the time.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit show off, and I'm not sure it always puts the music first.
Oh, that's so weird, because I don't find it to be show off. I find it to be too conservative, and I find it's like I'm listening to a MIDI player almost, in a way. Like, it's so sad to say that.
The reason that I say it sounds show off is that people think it's hard to do that on the flute, and so they're trying to impress other flute players.
Oh yeah.
But if you're not a flute player, you don't know that it's hard, and you don't care. You want beauty.
Yeah.
And is it beautiful?
Exactly.
I'm not always sure. So there's some recordings. Sometimes I'm like, what are you trying to achieve here?
Yeah.
Trying to impress other flute players, or you're trying to make beautiful music?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's always the question of that. Maybe we should do a whole entire, if you want us to do a whole entire thing about dissecting flutists.
I don't like doing that, because I don't want to be like, people play the way they want. It's all good. It's just my opinion. You know?
It's just everybody has different tastes. That's what I encourage that, to be honest, because I think that's how we get into the position we are now with all musics. Because music is always getting better and better because of everybody, not because of just
sometimes there's big names. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in university, I played a concerto with the orchestra, and I had a CD that I found of that concerto, and I gave it to the band director, the conductor of the orchestra, and she was like, "Huh, I didn't like it at all. Like, it's so not musical." And I agreed. I was like, yeah, I just got the CD because it was, I wanted to hear the piece. And back then you didn't have YouTube and stuff. But yeah, like, it was so not musical. It was like, when it's easy, I play fast.
Right.
And there's a trend of that in the flute world.
And I've listened to stuff, and go out and listen to anybody, even no names, because I've listened to some people that have never recorded a single thing in their life, and they're better than any flutist I've ever heard in the popular stream. Like people who do other things with their lives, and then it can be so various,
And also, like, there's a lot of luck involved in becoming known.
Totally.
There's a lot of different things involved in why this person became very known and not this other person. It's not just talent, and it's not just, like, it's a combination of things, Oh, Jordan Brown.
Yeah, Jordan Brown, thank you for
on the super chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the people in the super chat. I know Kent and Jordan here, they help us out tremendously for that. And
but it's all like, if you, every time it's a low note, you have to show that you can play it loud, and every time it's a high note, you have to show you can play it soft. Like, come on. It's not always, sometimes you have to play loud in the high register, and sometimes you have to play soft in the low register.
Exactly.
Like, what's the musical goal here? Is it to show off, or to be musical and to express something and to respect the composer?
Right, exactly. So we could go another whole hour about that, but we have to say that for another time, because, that's how it is with things like that. So everybody, thanks so much again. Also, like I said, go and leave us a review over at Apple Podcasts if you use Apple Podcasts, or if you use Spotify and anything, follow us on there. Hit that follow button or subscribe button, whichever one it is, and join us there. And also be sure to join us the last Sunday of every month live here on YouTube, where we talk about all things flute with you guys. And thanks so much for all the comments in the chat today. It was all very, very cool and very, very interesting. And I think that's it for this month, and we'll join each other again at the end of November.
Yes.
Thanks so much, everybody. It was really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Be sure to practice. Bye.